Hi, I'm Monika Varma Samtani. I'm on the Chai with Champs podcast with Ritika Agarwal.
Welcome to the Chai with Champs podcast. This is the center stage for South Asian cinema. I'm your host, Ritika Agarwal, and I'll be sitting down with Oscar-nominated producers, award-winning directors, actors, composers, influential film critics, and more who are shaping the future of South Asian cinema. Chai with Champs is sponsored by Sunblue Sound, a visionary audio production company that specializes in post-sound for visual media. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Chai with Champs podcast, Season 3. I have a very exciting guest with me, Monika Samtani.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Ritika.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
One thing that I always make my guests do is introduce themselves.
Okay.
So can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Well, like you said, I'm Monika, and I've been working in the entertainment industry for a really long time, and I'm not afraid to age myself anymore. So it's been like literally over 3 decades.
Wow.
And I think that it's just something that I was born to be in. No one could distract me from it. So really just quickly, I would call myself today a producer, a storyteller, an advocate, a mentor, and all of the above under entertainment.
I love that. Well, I'm so excited to dive more into your journey and
Thank
how you
you.
came to be all of those things. Before we get started, you've had a powerful evolution from being one of the first few South Asian anchors in American newsrooms and then making your own media company and beyond. But before all of this, who was Monika and what kind of drew you to storytelling in those early days?
I love this question because really, I think your life, you really need to look back at your life as chapters. And then that's the book that you've created at the end, right? Is the chapters. And I think Monika Varma was just a little girl who was sort of lost in the shuffle of new immigrants when they first moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan from New Delhi, back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And really that was a time when, immigrants, I think it's tough even now in some ways, but very different in terms of the tough situation then because there were so few of them.
Yeah.
They really didn't know what to expect. Then you also land in Ann Arbor where there's none of them and it's freezing cold and you have no money. So, and then I was born during that time when my parents were newlyweds. So I think the little girl at that time was born into that and lost in the shuffle in the sense that it wasn't that they didn't care about what was happening to me, is that they had to figure it out for themselves.
Right.
And but what happened during that time, which I think is a beautiful thing, is that my grandmother had to take care of me. They called her over, my dadi. And that became really, I think, the beginning of my life story. Because she had no community like she had in India and Burma, which I know we're going to talk about later, she started telling me her stories.
Yeah.
And that naturally became something I was drawn to.
I love that. It's also so relatable because as we were chatting right before the podcast, I also grew up with my grandparents and they also lived in Nigeria at that, the early days. So I think it's so relatable in a way where they really are the ones that introduce you to storytelling and the kind of experiences that they've had and also kind of draw you close to culture, right?
That's absolutely right. I mean, really, if you think about the roots of storytelling, where do they come from? They come from verbal, right? They come from speaking the story. Yes, there was hieroglyphics and all of that before that, but really it's speaking the story.
Yeah.
And so for me, I would say that it was both of my grandmothers, but separately.
Yeah.
And they're very different people, but the stories that they had within them, they told each other and to their grandchildren because we sat with them, right? We actually took the time to listen to them. It wasn't that they were just sitting around in our home because now, it's something that our parents now are obligated to take care of the elderly, but they were really a part of our lives. And not just their stories, but their cooking.
Yeah.
They brought the culture. They always wore the clothing. You know, they were very, very true to themselves. They didn't come to another country and change themselves because that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so that is what I saw. And also watching movies.
Yeah. Was it Bollywood specifically?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
We didn't have the soap operas at that time because there wasn't cable, or maybe there was, but we had the movies and we had the VHS tapes.
Oh,
so it was whatever my parents could find, or maybe were I don't know, shipped to them. I'm not really sure how they got the movies at the time, but so we watched movies because, you know, actually the other day I was chatting with my cousin, and when they get into Hindi mode, it's beautiful. Like they mix in Hindi, also a little Punjabi, but some Urdu. And I follow everything. And I cannot express myself in the language as well as, I mean, obviously I can speak fluently, but the way that, and I'm so proud today because I really think about the fact that I can understand them completely. And the reason is that the exposure. I didn't go to school to learn the language, but it was there for me with my grandparents.
Yeah, you learn at home.
You learn at home, and just listening, observing, and having the movies.
I love that.
And the songs.
Of course.
And the songs.
You cannot escape the songs, the 7-minute songs.
No,
there's no way. But now speaking of, you know, them being immigrants, first of all, then they became doctors, right? Now you come from a family of doctors, and your father moved during a time of war and poverty. I know that your grandparents kind of introduced you to storytelling, but how was it really choosing a creative path, especially in an environment where survival expectations, you know, shaped your surrounding? How was that? And then also, I think, how do people that are in the creative space follow that calling that defies, honestly, generational expectations? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that in my time, that was even harder. I am not saying it's not a challenge now, because it still is. Certainly we're seeing more of it, and we're seeing more representation, which just makes me so happy. But at the time, I want to kind of take you back to the why of it all. And I've really thought about this for a long time. And your question is so relevant because it's been a part of my life, so many immigrants' lives, as to how you choose your path and how it's chosen for you. Right? Number one is listening to your inner voice. Didn't our parents do that when they moved from their country, from everything they were comfortable with, what they knew, to foreign land, you know? And why did they do that? For what we always say is a better life, right? So, but they listened to what they needed to do. Similarly, we need to do that as well. So that's what I would say to anyone listening is, if you really know that this is your calling and this is what you need to do, there's nothing that can stop you. Why do our parents and that generation, and even I would say somewhat of my generation, have that fear? It's survival, like you said. If my father, if you think about it, survived 2 wars, like you said. So what was it? It was World War II when he lived in Burma, and there was bombings of the Myitkyina airstrip. Some people may know this history, in Rangoon, and they had like the American, you know, military getting as many people out as fast as possible. And what did they leave with? Nothing but what they had on their backs. Can you imagine that? Like in my father's lifetime and in mine, I have these stories. And where we are today, like look at us. How is that even possible? And then he lands their family lands up north of the partition border, and then partition happens. In 1947, what happens? They have to do it again. That is some crazy stuff, you know, and to think that they survive both of those things. So when they then, you know, get married and then they move to the US because of opportunity, what is in their minds other than survival, security, and then they start having children. So there's a fear. My children need to be safe and secure. And security means financial security. And when you think of at that time, especially 60s, 70s, even 80s, for immigrants, was entertainment something that they felt secure with? Absolutely not. Now, do you have to work hard in every industry? Yes. They worked hard, as my dad was a doctor, or is a doctor. If you were anything else, if you're an attorney, you work really, really hard. If you go into tech, you work there isn't any field that you don't work really hard in. But entertainment just wasn't the traditional way. And we've all heard this story, but there's a reason why. And if we look at that with a different lens and narrative and not look at it as something negative, but still do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, if we look at it that way, and then we say, okay, I believe in myself and this is my calling, there's nothing that can stop you.
Right. No, that's actually so beautifully explained. I think one challenge that majority of people have is that initial conversation, right?
Yes.
Of course, there's parents out there that have been super supportive and know that you can kind of champion in any path you go into. But then there's that hard conversation of you being a South Asian woman going in the entertainment and media space. There's a different kind of fear that comes with it, not just financial security. How did that conversation kind of come to be? And how did you finally prove to them that no, media is a secure space in all dimensions?
Yeah, they kind of get a little bit like, I don't know why, at that time especially, embarrassed.
Okay.
Like, you're gonna, what? You're gonna do what? Like, that was the question that my parents had. And I was super young when I knew, like, even in college, this is one of my stories, is that my dad, I went to GW and my dad, because I was so young, he signed me up for biology and the sciences. And I had never gotten a D in my life. And I took biology.
Yeah.
And I got a D the first semester of college. And I was like, can I cuss? I was like, I was cheating myself. I was like, I'm dead. D is for dead. Like, I'm not going to survive this. I can't even go home. But I knew, I was like, I can't. The sciences are not me. And even during high school and college in the summers, he made me do, and again, with love, he made me do jobs at the hospital. So I was a porter.
Oh, wow.
I was a porter in the hospital because he's like, you need to see what patient care is, and then you'll find your path, and you'll do this division and that department. And I actually one time fainted when I saw blood, and I was a porter, and the doctors and the nurses were like, "Oh my God." Like, what? No. So I knew, like, I tried and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I actually changed my own major to what doesn't exist anymore, is radio and television communications. But there was a whole department there, a church that was converted to studios.
Wow. Okay.
So imagine, like, I would walk into that studio at school in college and never feel so excited like I did in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, this is it right here.
Yeah.
And, you know, we used to use Super 8 cameras to make movies, and we do radio shows and then put these huge headphones on and use a blade and listen to the breath to cut the tape and then splice it together and tape it together. I loved it. It was amazing. The creative juices that were flowing from me, and my parents saw it.
Yeah.
They saw it, but they still thought, Tika, like, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, let her do it now.
Yeah.
And then she can do her master's and think of something else. There was always for them another way out, but they were like, okay, fine. Like, let her just do it now.
Yeah.
Until they realized that this is really, I can't stop this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us feel that way. But then, you know, you can't just do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
It's got to be something where you're planning. Like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Where are the jobs? What's the reality of this? And the truth is that jobs initially in our fields don't pay that much.
Right.
So what are you going to do? Like, what is, like, my son and my daughter in the field? I have 3 kids, but 2 of them are in the entertainment space. And, you know, one who's younger is living with other people and sharing rent, and, you know, he's doing what he needs to do, but he's got the job.
Right.
So the planning has to begin even before you graduate from college. Your internships matter.
Right.
You know, what you're choosing to do, all of that has to be planned out. Like any field, you got to just take that really seriously.
Right. It's the choices you make, honestly. But I think there's a lot of people now also that didn't major in what they wanted to pursue.
That's okay.
And you know, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, there are certain, I'm going to say, like, if you major in, like, English.
Yeah.
law is great. And then you can do entertainment law.
Right.
And then there's different sort of verticals within entertainment. You can specialize in music. You can specialize in, other facets and IP.
Yeah.
And so really, I think that can be converted into entertainment in many ways. Because really, what is entertainment? It's business.
Yeah.
It's technology. Of course, it's music, film, all the things that we know. But I feel like there's such a vast array of things that we can do from what we learn in college and convert it into our lives in entertainment. Because in the end, it's all of it. That's really how I see it.
I love that.
I love what we do so much.
And I love that you said that you can kind of inculcate like entertainment in any space. And that's, I think, exactly your portfolio, right?
Yeah.
Your creative portfolio is so vast and so layered.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, in the span of 3 decades, you've done national publicity for a feature film. And I love that each project kind of ties to a deeper cause, right? Like this feature film focused on child trafficking.
Yeah, Sold. The movie Sold.
So beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Is there a place where audiences could watch it?
Yeah, I think it's still available streaming somewhere.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's been like 10 years since I did that film. But I do believe if you look up Sold the movie, you can find it somewhere. And it is a feature.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done that.
Yeah.
You advocate for women through FemWorld. You've amplified voices of students in India through your documentaries.
Yes.
And now you founded South Asian House in 2023 that is at the South by Southwest, which is crazy. There's all different dimensions.
Yeah.
When you have so many different directions to pour your energy in, how do you choose what to say yes to? And I'm sure like in our community, there's so many multi-hyphenate people that really are trying to juggle multiple things. But what is that thing that they should be looking at when they want to stay focused, but not also compromise on that impact?
I think I'm going to start with saying that almost everything I do somehow has impact. Whether it's to advocate for women or advocate for entertainment, the entertainment world and people in the entertainment world, all of it really matters to me. There's always some result of impact and change and pushing culture forward. And that's always important to me. So overarching and under the entertainment umbrella is everything I do. So I will say that I spent a majority of my career in television and television news, as you said, like being the first news anchor on the CBS station in Washington as a South Asian. Yeah. There was no one else doing it. So I actually spent most of my career in radio and television in news. I only left that just about 10 years ago in 2014. So now in those 10 years, the reason for me doing this was so that I could use and leverage everything I learned in that space and bring it into storytelling in a creative way. Because that's what I felt like I was losing in news. And in Washington, D.C., I don't even have to explain what the focus is. And that just wasn't my thing anymore. And I had to be true to myself. So that's the reason why I changed. But in the last 10 years, yes, I have done multiple things, but all under the umbrella of the same thing. So I'm going to sort of look to Oprah on this one, on purpose.
Yeah.
So your purpose isn't that one big thing. Your purpose is really everything that you do throughout your life that connects the dots into your purpose and gives you meaning and really makes you feel fulfilled. And it's sort of the thread that connects those dots.
I love that.
And so for me, it's film, it's music, it's, yes, I've done podcasts, it's South Asian House, it's Soundvilla, and the FemWord. And all of those, what's the one thread that connects those together? It's storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? And so in different ways. And the other thing it does is that it pushes not only our culture forward, but people forward. Yeah. Because I really look at myself as a producer, but also a mentor and an advocate. So if I can create those opportunities through all of those avenues, I'm going to continue to do that. And I actually look at it as one thing connecting my dots of my purpose.
I absolutely love that. I think so many of us sometimes struggle because we're trying to put ourselves in like that one bucket.
Yeah.
Or I think it's a mouthful to say 1,000 things that we do, but that's the nature of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is hard to, and it's hard to explain to people outside of the business.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, but then you do have to figure, and I would say there has to be a focus.
Right.
Like for me, it's impact.
Yeah.
And so whether it's, South Asian House where it's at festivals and it's a place that's a hub for South Asian and diverse creatives. We invite everyone into this hub, but it's only at festivals. And then you feel like you belong somewhere.
Right.
And so that's what we've created. But it's really for me too. I'm meeting people.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm doing it for everyone, but for me too. And what is it? We're all storytellers. So in that way, I think that you do need to have a purpose. And for me, that is mine.
I absolutely love that. And speaking of community, I mean, you've connected creators from India to the US and vice versa.
Yeah.
And throughout your, 3-decade career, how have you sort of built your tribe in different locations that you've lived in? And what advice would you give to people that are into networking, meeting people in these spaces that you're creating? What's the right approach to that?
This is where I get really excited.
Yeah.
Because I think networking is one of the most essential things you can do in your life.
Yeah.
Even when you're making friends. It's not just for your job. You're not going to go out networking just for like, I need something from these people. Why are you going to network? So for me, it's creating that tribe is also creating your community of like-minded people, positive energy. You have to learn to push out the negative energy because there's going to be the naysayers. There's going to be the people that are going to want to block what you're doing. Quoting Mel Robbins, let them.
The let them theory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That we could go into a whole podcast about let them because there's another side of that. But literally let them. Yeah. Let them do what they're doing, even if it's the same thing as you. Let them say no to you. Let them say, who are you to do this? Yeah. There's a lot of things, but there's also the positives. There's a lot of people who are also on the other side of this whole spectrum, which is positivity. They want you to succeed. You walk into a room, you're going to find those people because it's the energy you put out will be brought back to you. Yeah. So networking is that. Go with intention. Intentional networking is everything. Yeah. And go with purpose. So I still love to network. It's one of my favorite things to do in the sense that if I'm going to an event, I will actually research who's going to be there, right? And who is it? I could meet every single person in the room and then I could go home and say, well, who did I meet? Like, what was what can I take away from this? So I kind of know who's there because that's what networking is about. And then you have to realize what is your purpose and your goal to be there. Is it that you want to learn more about the industry? Is it that you're looking for opportunity? Or is it that you're saying, I can give someone an opportunity? I really think those are the three main things. If you go with intention, you kind of know who's going to be there and you walk away with the quality, not the quantity of people that you have met. Yeah. That to me is creating the tribe. And the next part of that is what I feel like I really have mastered is keeping in touch.
That's the hardest part, though. A lot of people meet and then forget.
Yes.
Talk to me more about keeping in touch.
Yeah, sometimes that's hard because you don't get the same back from them.
Yeah.
I don't give up on that. You will get those people who will. And also remember, it's not always about you. Because often we take it so personally and then we get all like into like our little black hole of like, why does no one care? Like, I have so much to offer. No, they're really doing things too. Yeah. I don't like to use the word busy because when you say I'm busy, that's kind of insulting because we're all busy. Yeah. It's not about that. It's about everybody's got their lives. Things are happening. Maybe it's just that. So wait a minute, sit back a moment, try with someone else. But you really do have to continue that. I think some of the most important things that have happened in my life is because I've continued to keep in touch. Yeah. And I will meet for coffee. And I'm not always for looking for something in return. Yeah. Say, hey, what are you doing these days? You never know where that's going to lead or what ideas might come from that, but you got to keep at it. Yeah. And I think that I've kept at it always for years. And it's something that comes naturally. It's either learned or it comes naturally, but don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's solid advice for everyone that's listening, and not just for folks in entertainment, to be honest, because everyone's networking in every area. So that's beautiful. And I think what's also so nice is that you're not just a part of the tribe, you're creating the tribe through these different platforms. And like we mentioned, South Asian House is one of them, and Soundvilla. But I think another thing that you're doing apart from building the tribe is giving a platform to creators, whether that's artists, filmmakers, and so many more. Being on the other side of the table, when you see applications come in, what is it that you see in the talent? What is it that makes you pause and say, hey, that there's something special out here? What does that process look like? Before we continue with the episode, I want to give a huge shout out to our official show sponsor, Sunblue Sound. If you've not heard of them already, they are an incredible audio production company that specialize in post-sound for visual media. They've worked on a range of projects, from ad spots to television series to films that have been streamed on Amazon, Tubi, and in film festivals across the nation. The coolest part, this episode that you're listening to or watching right now has been mixed and edited by Sunblue Sound. Ravi, the owner, is a dear friend of mine, and I can vouch that he truly cares about his clients and embodies their tagline, engineering sound for visionary creators. If you're looking for audio mixing or sound design, reach out to them directly at team@sunbluesound.com. That's TEAM@sunbluesound.com. Now, back to the episode.
I'm going to talk about Soundvilla with music artists. So Soundvilla, why did I name it that? Actually, I'm going to credit my mom. She's quite the musician, and she was quite the actor. Like when she was young, by the way, just a little aside before I tell you that. There's always another thing that, in your life that you come up with. But when she grew up, believe it or not, she grew up in Paharganj, New Delhi, which was quite like abject poverty. And why do I say that out loud? Because it's the truth. But she always thought of herself, her name was Jia, but she always thought of herself as a bit of a queen and an actor. And she was convinced she was going to go to Bollywood. Maybe that's where I get a little bit of that from.
That's what you should have started with.
Drama. And so when she went to school, she herself changed her name to Rani. Because she's a queen. And today she is Rani. So, and so I think the reason I credit her with coming up with Soundvilla is because it matters so much to her what I'm doing. And she's like, if you're going to do music, which by the way, she's very, very into music and puts on shows in her early 80s for charity with her friends, with tabla and harmonium and like the whole show. It's so beautiful. And she's like, okay, it really matters what you call this. And so she couldn't sleep at night thinking, what's the reason you're doing this? Because you are, Monika, all about emerging talent. You are all about the ones that are right on the cusp, that are doing the work, that are completely in their heart and soul dedicated to this craft. So roundabout way, she and I came up with Soundvilla. And the reason is sound is your authentic voice, and villa is a place you feel comfortable. So when I am now scouting for talent, I will look everywhere. There's so many, it's so interesting because there's so many places you can find talent now that it's almost too much. And then you end up saying, where do I look? Like, where do I go? Obvious places are TikTok, Instagram. Obvious places are Spotify and all the streaming and all the platforms. But there's one recurring thing that you start to see. And that is, are they being really, truly themselves? Because you cannot hide that. You cannot pretend. And your aesthetic. What is it that you're creating online about yourself? And how are you creating that community around yourself? What is the story you're telling about yourself? All of that matters as an artist. And are you doing the work to hone in on your craft? Like, you can't just be like, today, I'm a singer. There is a lot of work that goes into that. And I also would say that as a talent scout, as someone who's now putting together a showcase for major festivals like South by Southwest, who had the, the trust in me to bring the first ever South Asian music showcase to South by Southwest back in 2024, and now 2025 in Austin and London coming up in June, everyone.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Huge.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And the artists are just phenomenal. Is that, I feel like you have an intuition about it. Like you kind of know. And that's why you can do this, right? Because if you don't and you're putting artists up on that stage, it can be a major fail. And the energy that they're putting out, like I said before, the audience feels it. Are they really being real about themselves up there? I also really look for someone. Look, just because we're saying South Asian doesn't mean that you have to only be South Asian or forget about it. There's an element of you. And also in the group, like if you yourself are just part South Asian, that's an element. If you are not singing South Asian music, I don't care. We have a rock band. They're half Punjabi, half Italian rock duo sisters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're nothing to do with being South Asian other than their father is Punjabi. And then they love to talk about their upbringing with the tandoori chicken and their father's food. That's amazing. There's an element of them. So what about you? Are you bringing that pride in your culture? That's what matters. And I see that.
That's so amazing because it's not just really about the music. It's really about who they are in its entirety.
It comes from within. It comes from within. If you are pushing that culture away, that's up to you. 100%. But that's not something that I'm looking for. And it is English language music that I'm looking for. There could be an element of the sound. Obviously, that's fine. Like Gayatri does that with her Carnatic sounds. But look at her cool vibe. She was one of our artists in Soundvilla at South by Southwest in March in Austin. And I think she just rocks. She rocks her sound. She rocks her vibe. She rocks who she is.
I love that.
In that space. And that's like the perfect example of what I'm talking about.
That's awesome. And if someone listening is an artist, a musician who wants to be a part of South Asian House at South by Southwest next year, what should they be doing now in order to be ready for that platform?
I think that goes back to not just for that platform, but any sort of, if you're looking to showcase your work. And if we're just talking about music right now, because film is a whole different thing. So with music is that you're doing the work to learn your craft. You really understand who you are and your sound. But genre doesn't have to be specific in music. It can be mixed. I think film, you really need to be a little more genre specific in that particular film. And we can talk about that. But with music, I need to see that you're doing the work where you're a true musician. You're putting your voice out there. You're creating community and content. There's got to be a lot of content, and you're actually using the platforms to your advantage and that aesthetic.
I love that. That's solid advice.
And also, I want to say one more thing.
Yes, absolutely.
I would say that if you really are interested in being in a showcase like mine, it's okay to DM me. I may or may not answer right away. That's where the networking. Okay, if I don't answer you in the week after, that doesn't mean I don't care, or I don't think you're great, or I don't maybe just want to have a chat with you. But I think it's okay to do that. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and also start doing shows. Look, Ed Sheeran started with busking in London on the streets. Like he put himself out there. Start doing the shows. Put yourself out there in gigs, do your music online, and then I'm going to see that too. Because maybe when you write to me or you've emailed me or whatever it is, I'm going to start looking.
And like if
anyone
you have
will.
a portfolio, that's the best thing, right?
Have that media kit ready too.
That's awesome. That's really, really good advice. I'm going to make you switch your hats from music to being a producer and films. And also you've done publicity for a feature 10 years ago, right? But I think one common thread, a lot of filmmakers are so invested in the creative project that they're doing in the film that they're writing, as they rightly should, that they sometimes often put PR towards like the very end until it's like too late. What advice would you give to filmmakers in terms of audience building, PR, press, publicity, all of those things as they're writing their films and thinking about making their next short or feature?
So as an indie filmmaker, I'm going to talk about that. I think that one of the things that's really important is once you know the idea is solid, you may not even have the funding. That's not about that. Start creating the buzz and the community around it. Start talking about it. Go to the film festivals. Go to the networking events. Put yourself out there and don't be afraid of feedback as well.
Yeah.
You got to, I mean, we got to thicken our skin a little bit about these things. Because if you really believe in your project, it may take a long time, but that doesn't mean it's not good. So start creating that buzz, that hype, that community. Do podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, talk about your other projects and then put in the one that you're doing now. And that, yes, it's just on the ground, but it's ready to go. The script is ready. Do your table reads. Talk to industry experts. Give them your script. You know, one of the things is that we start getting afraid of our IP. But if you don't put it out there, how are you going to know that it's going to work? So I would say that that's also considered to me publicity. The real push of publicity happens a little later when you've actually started getting your attachments and your funding. Then you start saying, okay, where can I now get some press on this? But starting the groundwork first. And I would also say that there's different schools of thought on this, but I think looking at distribution, and when you're talking about distribution, there's so many distributors out there. Who is it that's going to be interested in your project that's specific to yours? And the only way that you know that is you know what your project is. You know your audience. That gets into the nitty gritty. You really, really need to know who is your audience of your film, what is your genre, and inside and out your story. And then you start looking at the distribution. Then you also need to, number two, to me, look at your release strategy. And then the three is the trustworthiness. And that goes back to what we were talking about before. Who are you showing the script to? Who are you talking about it to in your communities? And then who do you get for distribution?
What would you say filmmakers need to prioritize? Like once they are working on their script, what's next?
I think that's it right there. Distribution to me is right at pre-production phase. I don't think you need to wait on that. And you also need to know your strategy, but they also will help develop that. So when you have that under your belt, and yes, maybe an attachment. Who that attachment is, I get asked. I'm doing a film right now. It's a feature. And it's called Ghibli. That's a working title. But people ask me all the time, so are you looking for the director? Are you looking for the lead? What are you looking for? I'm like, that's a hard one. Because if I get a big name director, bam, I'm golden. If I get a big name actor for the lead, bam, I'm golden. But maybe I don't. Maybe one of those two, I want them to be emerging. But I know that they have it. So then I'm not going to get the press or maybe the funding right away, but I believe in them. So there's sort of like, what's the right path is very different for every single film. But it's really, you know your film, and that's like the first step for me. Is your genre and your audience. That's really for me where you start. And money.
Of course, that's a different conversation.
Money is another thing. And I'd love to, use this opportunity to say, I'm doing the films, and Ghibli is one of them. It's a feature on a Indian Muslim woman, true story, living in Benghazi, Libya. She's still there, been there for decades, became a school teacher. And then as the whole sort of military issue started to happen and wartime and all of these things started to happen, she started to get involved unintentionally and under the radar in helping to get Indian hostages out of situations in real life 3 times.
Wow.
And so and she's just a school teacher.
Wow.
Teaching English. That was another thing that she's like this trailblazer, which people didn't like that she was doing. And she helped get Indian hostages out 3 times. And we're doing a story that she did in 2020. So stay tuned for that.
Another story, another
and that's sort of now I'm ready to put that out there.
Yeah.
We've been working on this for a long time. That's another thing is like keeping it under wraps, and then boom, I'm ready to talk about it.
The weight game is huge, right, in filmmaking.
It's hard. Because we're we're artsy people. We just want to put ourselves out there, and plus I'm in Aries, so that doesn't help. But what I am doing to really change the game, because when we talk about financing and with filmmakers, music artists, any of us, That's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's the hardest one. I'm like, where do we get the friggin' money to do this?
Exactly.
And everyone says, I love your story. I love your voice. And then you're like,
so where's the money?
Yeah. And a lot of the money comes from just believers.
Yeah.
Your angel investors are just the believers who don't expect it back. But really, how do you scale that, right? So one of the things I'm working on, which will now be what you asked me before, is like, you do a little bit of everything. For me, this is the connect the dots moment, which is a tech platform. And it's a matchmaking platform for brands to connect with films organically by scraping the script and finding placements.
I love
and
that.
that will fund indie films and self-fund your films. And that is the big, big thing for me. That is my ultimate impact purpose in life.
That's huge. That's actually huge. Yeah.
And films can be even music videos. Films can be gaming, but it's filmmakers first.
When is this app going to launch?
We're about to be able to build this after much research. This is where we had to keep it under wraps. We have been talking to everyone under the sun. And this is what business building is. And even when you think about a film, it's a business.
Yeah.
When you think about music and be an artist, you have all the people around you that are your business.
Yeah.
Your manager is your business, your agent is your business, or even if you're doing it on your own, which I truly believe you can do in the beginning, it's a business. So like any business, we've had to develop it and make sure we're in the right place. Does this mean it won't evolve? Maybe.
Yeah.
So now we're at a place where we have a very major platform that's going to build it out for us. That's the phase we're in. And we'll start building the beta and bringing on, you will get an invitation as a filmmaker, as a music artist, as a brand to come onto the beta platform and start testing it for us. And that will happen between the middle and the end of this year.
Well, I'm very excited for this.
Thanks.
I would love to be a part of the beta program.
Yes, absolutely. And I invite everyone to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
For
this is
that.
incredible.
Yeah, it is going to be.
I love how
it's
you
going to
have
be a
different,
game changer.
Absolutely. I love how you have different platforms and you keep bringing impact in different ways. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah.
Speaking of you being in Aries, I feel like you would love this round, which is Spill the Chai. We have 5 fun questions. So whatever comes first to your mind.
Oh my God. Should I be scared?
No, not at all. I don't think so. Okay, cool. So the first question is this or that, coordinating the red carpet for a feature film or producing a showcase at South Asian House?
Oh, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Producing for South Asian House.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Who's one South Asian artist, music, film, or creator you haven't worked with yet but would drop everything to collaborate with?
Well, drop everything. I would say it would maybe be Dev Patel.
Okay, yeah.
Because after, obviously we all know his history, but after really digging into how he did Monkey Man and everything he put into it for 8 years?
Yeah.
And then all the roles he played, I mean, come on.
That one's a no-brainer.
And he's a real deal.
Yes,
he really is truly the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nisha Pahuja, who I've had the very big privilege of meeting and actually talking about and bringing to South Asian House at one of our events. And after seeing her film and how she had to pivot to do it and the why of it all, I just really respect her.
Yeah.
And the fact that she, not that she made it to the Oscars. It's really not for me. That's that has to be your golden ticket. Otherwise you're a nobody. No. But that happened to happen. And the work that she's put in to do that. I really do love working with people who are, now she's not under the radar, but somewhat have been and have done the work. And also the age and stage for me really matters. Because for me, one of the reasons I left television at that time was because I had a calling, but also because of ageism. And let me put it out there. And if I let that bother me even today with ageism, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I really am proud of the people who are still on the ground doing the work, someone like her.
I love that. Oh, wow.
And she's young. She's got a long way to go. But, she's done the work for a long time. No, she really has.
Yeah, she'd come to Chicago for the screening and it was just such a beautiful film to watch. And then the dad was also there with us.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so it was incredible.
Yeah, she's great. She's the real deal.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Next question is, what's one thing people assume about working in media that's totally false, but you're tired of correcting it?
I'm going to go to television.
Yeah.
It's so glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, I got up at 2 a.m. for over 20 years.
Crazy.
And I raised 3 children doing it.
More power to you. That's insane.
But when I was on, I was on. And why? Because I wanted to be there. No one was forcing me. No one's putting a gun to my head.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there, and it was a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of work, you know? I mean, it was every day a grind. And then when you got off television, every day there was a debrief with the executive producer, not only saying, you could have done this better, or okay, pat on the back, but what are you doing next? Move on, next thing. News, the world is constantly moving and changing. And then you were producing, this is where producing came into my life, is you were producing the news stories. Mm-hmm. You had to, what is a film? It's a short news story is the same thing.
Yeah.
A minute and a half package, which is what we call it on television, is you think about the story, you put the script together, you go out and shoot it, you have an editor, and at that time we had producers, later we became everything, the MMJs, but it is a short film. And how do you plan for that? Right away. And that film had to be made for the next day.
Wow. Yeah.
So it is one of the hardest jobs, but everyone who saw you on TV, they saw the other side of that, which is because we made it look that way. So that's false.
I'm glad you shared that. I had Sangeeta Patel for my first season, and she mentioned something very similar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Complete the sentence. If my life were a Netflix series, the title would be?
She can and she will.
I love it. Have you heard the quote? She turned her dreams into... I love that one. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm fully blanking on it.
Oh my God. I need to see that.
She turned her dreams into plans and her cans into cans. And there's something more than that. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
What's next for Monika? That would be that would be the title. I like that one better. You don't know where she's going to end up.
And you've built bridges across continents. So if you could teleport one cultural experience from India to South by Southwest, what would it be?
To South by Southwest?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say the sound that's coming out. Teleport it out to here, make it easy for them to come here. Ooh, that would be a game changer.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Well, I feel like that's, you can make that happen. Yeah. If anyone, I think that you can make that happen.
Literally, just can't wait for that because it's becoming real.
Yeah. I love that. So we're going to move on to the last part of our podcast. It's the reflection, which I absolutely love because you can really reflect on our conversation and your journey truly of the last 3 decades. And so if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
Don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hesitate. Keep going.
Yeah. Listen
to your inner voice. And I think I've now started to incorporate that, but it took a while.
Yeah.
So don't wait to do that.
I love it. Is this some advice you keep giving your 3 children as well? I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I think that they already do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because I've said that, what's stopping you?
I think they've also had such a fantastic role model in you to have seen your journey really in front of
They've
their
also
eyes.
seen struggle.
Yeah.
They've seen that it's hard.
Yeah.
And any industry is hard. My husband's a doctor as well, and that's hard.
Yeah.
A lot of hours. So I think that we just maybe naturally instilled that, but also maybe use the words because I think it's important to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with everything that you've done so far, with the films you're producing, Soundvilla, the things that you're advocating for, what's the legacy you see yourself leaving behind?
I would say the legacy that I really hope to be leaving behind and people remember me by is that I opened doors.
Yeah.
I opened doors to opportunity. I opened doors to people believing in themselves, being true to themselves and not being afraid of that, and community. Mm-hmm. So opening doors means that too, because I do feel we cannot do this alone. And like I said, go out and get it and be present. So being that person that opened doors and did it herself. And you can maybe look to me and say, if she could, I could. I can.
I love that. I think that's so beautiful. I think you also wrapped up the entire discussion in like a sentence, which is so beautiful. This is the last question of the podcast that I've been asking every guest, and it really ties back to the theme of the podcast. What do you think the audience and filmmakers need to be doing to bring South Asian cinema to center stage, more so as a global force in storytelling?
I think we're there. We have a long way to go, but we are doing the work. Have you noticed where we've been lately? So just of recent days, Coachella again, Met Gala, obviously Oscars. We've seen that happening now for a few years. We are celebrating Diwali like never before across the country. Open, proud, loud. We are doing the work already. So with cinema, keep doing what we're doing and creating communities. We have a lot of people doing that too. Avenues, film festivals. Tasveer is an Oscar recognized for shorts. Film festival. Be proud of that. Show up. Bring the films over. I think that's all we can do is continue to do the work, and it's one step at a time.
I absolutely love that. And I think opening other doors for other people in that process is also important. And everybody should kind of do that.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful journey. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you, Ritika. I loved being here and talking to you.
Yay. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Chai with Chams podcast. If this episode sparked something in you, go follow us, share it with your friends and family, rate it, and subscribe for more. I will see you next week where I sit down with another incredible guest that's bringing South Asian cinema to center stage.